What's wrong with looking at our past lives? Well, that's exactly what we're talking today on the Manifesting Guide. But just before we do that, if you're done with pushing and forcing yourself and you'd like to manifest with grace and ease, come find your Manifest Without Force or Frustration gift at highertrueself.com. It's completely free. This is episode number 45. What's wrong with past life regressions? Don't get me wrong, I've done it before. My first one was about 8 years ago. And it was a young woman in England, and she had such a lovely, soothing, relaxing voice, and of course, British accent, which I'm really partial to. And I found it was interesting. It was effective. But there was a point in the past life regression where I got really triggered. I saw something that was so painful. It triggered fear. So I got myself out of the triggered state and went on about my life. But what I became aware of is that whether that really happened to me or not, I don't know for sure, A part of me believed it did. My unconscious held that story. And whether it resonated with somebody else's experience, because on one hand, we are all interconnected. We know this. We've heard this from many spiritual teachers. So I may have picked up somebody else's life experience, but now it's active in me. So that's not the real issue. And what I want to talk about today in the podcast is that it could trigger us, but it can, right? And a very skilled past life regression person can gently get you out of it. But if you're sensitive at all, it's been activated. And in my experience, that the blockers, the ways of thinking, being, and feeling have now gone on hyper alert. And they're trying to soothe us. And usually the way they soothe us is with self-defeating behaviors. So now we have activated that. And now we're left to our own devices if we don't have the skills and we don't have the tools to clear those blockers, then we've got that active in our field. Okay. But the thing I really want to talk about today is that focusing on the past doesn't always change the future. I mean, if it did, therapy would be 100% effective. And while my background is in psychology, humanistic psychology, I do see the value of therapy, but sometimes reliving the past doesn't help us make different changes, different choices in the future. Here's why. When we recall a memory, even if we're talking about a wonderful dinner out with our partner, or a vacation that we went on, or a lovely holiday, we go back in time and we relive it. The unconscious mind has no concept of past, present, and future. When you recall it, it's like opening up a document on your computer. So you've got everything in there from the last time you worked on it, the last time you saved it. Nothing's changed. But you're reading it. You're feeling the words that you wrote, especially if you're writing something that's a book, or perhaps a meaningful, significant email, or a blog post, or podcast, or something like that. You connect to that plane of mind, that thinking, that emotional state when you open up that Word document. It's just the same as your unconscious mind and how it works. It's opening up a computer program, or document in this case, or audio file, whatever you want to think about it as. And when we do that, it now becomes our current living reality. Whenever we talk about a memory, which is why I remember being very young when I became aware that it was really painful to hear people's stories of disappointment, or sadness, or grief, or I don't know, loss or trauma even. It was painful in my body. And I thought to myself, well, yes, now I understand I have an empathic ability, but that wasn't what it was. I'm seeing it now, is that it changed their state of being when they talked about it. It became alive and real. So now they've gone backwards and they're reliving that. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know. I just, it's like I went there with them. And actually, in many cases I did, which is why sometimes I would say, I'm just so sorry for what's happening. Can we please move on to another topic? Some people thought me insensitive, but now I'm seeing why. Because it was actually, in a way, arguing for the pain, arguing for the limitation, arguing for the injustice. So they are now no longer in present day. It could be something that happened 2 years ago, 20 years ago. But now it is at top of mind awareness, and the unconscious is now hyper alert, watching out, making sure that's not going to happen. And it does that by triggering all of these blocker patterns of protection, maybe even proactive assertiveness to avoid being hurt in the future. So I'll reject them before they reject me. You know it. You've witnessed this in other people. Maybe you've seen it in yourself. So what do we do? Because can it be helpful with past life regressions? Yeah. I had one about a month ago. I listened to a guided meditation, and I asked to see a particular life around this person who's in my life now. And it was insightful. It was valuable. Again, whether it really happened or not, I don't know, because I don't think we could all be, Queen Elizabeths or, I don't know, Napoleons, how many can we be? So what I'm noticing is that while that helped me, because primarily it helped me because I have access to tools that I could actually change the outcome. I could re-perceive that event. I could clear what I call that cell level memory that was very present and established during that particular experience, that lifetime. So when I came out of the guided meditation, I got into the tools, and it was amazing. I felt really free, and I felt I could relate with that person in my life currently in a more empowering way, and I felt stronger. And that's fabulous. Okay, but again, a lot of people don't have access to those tools. So seeing it really doesn't change anything. I remember way back when I was an odd teenager at, 15, I think? I went to what they used to call EST, started by Werner Erhard, and that's now become, I would say, a more diluted version in Landmark. There were lots of reasons why they changed it. So this is where they would lock the doors, and if you have to go to the restroom, you couldn't go. So again, I'm not, judging the way they did it, but I do remember one of the things they said is that understanding is the booby prize. So if we go do a past life regression, we understand the storyline. What can I do about it now? How does it change my life now? I had a life of poverty, and now I'm making lots of money, but I'm not treating people well. Or I had a life of great wealth, and now I'm experiencing the other side, poverty consciousness. Whatever it is, it doesn't change it unless you have access to the tools. So let's talk about focusing on the past versus focusing on the future. So this morning during my early morning walks, I had a fabulous morning. This is how my fabulous morning starts. I wake up about 4:30 a.m. I do a wonderful Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation. This one I did Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I love it, love it, love it. It's so amazing. So at about 5:30, I get the dog, we go out and walk, and it's dark. And so I have this inner conversation. And in this inner conversation, I thought, what if I could talk to the part of me that's the future Aryana? So I said, why not try, right? If we could go in the past, could we go in the future? And I started to really love that idea. And I do have a guided meditation. It's called Inspiring Future Process. And this is something I used way back when. And I give it to my clients when they're in one of our programs. And what it does is it walks you through an experience to meet the fulfilled you. So in this particular meditation, as you meet yourself as very old but vital and accomplished and successful at whatever you intended to succeed at. And there are lots of questions to start to see what's going on in the environment. And so I started thinking about that. How many clients said they loved it? And I'm realizing now why. We're not looking at our history. We're looking at who we can become. And we're also getting guidance on the steps on how to become that person. It's just amazing. So I think I'm going to play with this more about this future Aryana and see if I can do a conversation with her. Why not? She exists. If there's no difference in past, present, or future, she exists. So you can keep posted, and we'll be continuing this conversation as we do another podcast. So let's recap. So about the harm, what's not helpful about past life regressions. One, you could get triggered, and that you've got the emotions and the trauma activated. Two, you might not have the tools how to get yourself out of it, and now it's active in your unconscious mind. And what we dwell on, what we worry about, what we think about, it can be a negative form of manifesting. And three, well, the past is the past. What about the future? So focusing on future outcomes and looking at your future self. So that's just my little thoughts about the looking at past life regressions. And again, there's a great time and place as long as you've got the tools and resources to manage what comes up and also see it, hold it with a light touch. May have been you, maybe not. Maybe you just resonated with someone and your unconscious thinks the story is true. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked the episode and you think it would benefit someone, please leave a review at podchaser.com. And remember, when you confirm yourself, when you see your strengths and you know yourself, it frees you to be yourself. No dependency on someone recognizing you or needing to love you as you are, because you're stepping into self-acceptance, self-love. Have a wonderful rest of your day. This is Aryana. Bye for now.